Hello and welcome to the 29th module of Mastering Engineering Drawing, Foundations to Expertise. In this tutorial, we will delve into transformation projection by exploring the 3D to 3D copy isometric view exercise 3. Previously, we advanced our skills in creating isometric views through the second transformation projection exercise. Step by step, we constructed a 3D object by building its framework, identifying key points, and refining its structure with cutouts and built-up portions. This exercise further enhanced our ability to visualize and replicate intricate 3D forms in isometric projections. Now, let's move forward as we tackle the final challenge in 3D to 3D transformation projections with exercise 3. In this module, this exercise introduces the process of replicating complex 3D shapes in isometric projection, building a solid foundation for more advanced tasks. With this understanding, let's move on to the key rules. 1. 3-path rule. Through each vertex, only 3 paths pass, each initially parallel to the isometric axes X, Y, and Z. 2. Path replacement rule. If a vertex lies on a sloped or curved surface, one axis parallel path is replaced by a surface parallel path, straight for sloped surfaces and curved for curved surfaces. 3. Path formation rule. Sloped paths are formed by locating and joining the end vertices, while curved paths are drawn as isometric circular arcs in the appropriate plane. With these fundamental principles in mind, let's begin. Copy isometric view, exercise 3. This is the 3D object we will replicate in our drawing. Observe its structure, features, and dimensions carefully. To begin, we will first identify all the vertices and then randomly annotate them, which will guide us through the step-by-step construction process in the isometric plane. Start at the origin, labeled as O. From this point, draw 3 lines parallel to the X, Y, and Z axes to define the isometric plane. Now, mark points A, B', and C at their respective distances from point O, as per the given dimensions. Next, focus on the open ends A, B', and C to complete the framework. At point B', draw a line parallel to X-axis. Mark points B and D at their respective distances. Join points B and O, points D and A, which define the endpoints of the slope lines. At point B, draw the remaining parallel line. At point C, draw the remaining parallel line. The intersection obtained is point E. At point E, draw the remaining parallel line. At point D, draw the remaining parallel line. Mark points F and G at a distance of 18 mm from B and D, respectively, and join them. At point F, draw remaining parallel line. At point G, draw remaining parallel line. Now, draw a line parallel to the X-axis at distance of 38 mm from line FG. The intersections obtained are points H and I. At points H and I, draw the remaining parallel line. Mark points J and K at a distance of 24 mm from H and I, respectively. Join points J and K. At point J, draw the remaining parallel line. This completes the basic framework. We will now work on the cuboidal and cylindrical blocks. With the framework in place, let's begin constructing cuboidal block. First, mark points L and M as demonstrated. At point L and M, draw remaining parallel lines. Mark points N and P at a distance of 36 mm from L and M, respectively. Join points N and P. At point N and P, draw remaining parallel line. The intersections obtained are points Q and R. Join points Q and R. At point L' and M', draw remaining parallel line. The intersections obtained are points S and T. Join points S and T. Finally, we will wrap up by completing the cylindrical block. First, mark the center point U as demonstrate. To construct a circle with a radius of 40 mm in the isometric plane and copy it to the respective positions, apply the technique we learned in modules 25 and 26, isometric views of planes and isometric views of solids. Similarly, draw the isometric circle with a diameter of 16 mm. Mark points V, W, X, and Y as demonstrated, and then join them. At point W, draw remaining parallel line. The intersection obtained is point Z. At point Z, draw remaining parallel line. Alright, with all the construction lines completed, the solid block has taken shape. Carefully darken only the visible edges to finalize the isometric view. This concludes the module. Before we wrap up, let's explore a few similar 3D isometric views. By practicing this exercise, you will find it much easier to draw these figures and shapes on your own. Up next, we will shift our focus to transforming 3D objects into 2D orthographic views. This exercise will help you understand how to accurately represent 3D shapes on a 2D plane, an essential skill in engineering drawing. Thanks for watching, keep progressing through the series and stay tuned for more.